What happened to my mug? Oh boy, oh boy. Welcome back to By the Wayside. On this episode, I'm going to be speaking with comic book creator NELSON CAETANO. I think I said that right. Of course, we're going to have an Omar Recommends. We're going to have lots of fun. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. This is my fun opening music. Well. I'm just getting ready to record an episode of By the Wayside. And just like that, well, look who it is. If it isn't shop owner of Wayside Comics and Cocktails, Omar Sayer.
Hello.
It's not very often that when I'm recording an episode, Omar isn't here at Wayside Comics and Cocktails. And interestingly enough, I sat down to record a segment here of By the Wayside. Omar walked in. I didn't expect Omar to be here. I didn't expect anybody but my guest Nelson. But of course, here he is. That's it. Oh, he's come. No, I've said something and I can't get rid of him. So I don't have a mic for you.
No, I just needed to restock the milk for all your hot chocolates.
So Omar's doing me a solid. He's getting milk for the hot chocolates that I like to drink here at Wayside Comics and Cocktails. If you're ever in the vicinity of Newmarket, Ontario, and you're looking for the best hot chocolate, I recommend coming here to Wayside Comics and Cocktails for the best hot chocolate and for spontaneous visits from you never know who. So I'm just going to get started with this whole opening. I had prepared like 5 minutes of good stuff, but then Omar took about 2 of those minutes, so that's fine. That's the spontaneity, that's the beauty of this show. I wanted to talk about the generations that we all live in. You know, we talk about millennials, Generation X, we talk about the greatest generation, but no one really knows what that means. Interestingly enough, I have some of the things just for you, and we're going to blast through them super quick because it's important that we all know the greatest generation is actually between the years 1901 and 1927. Did you know that? These are the people that were born in this era. And the reason why they're the greatest generation is because they lived through the Depression, and they're the generation that went out to fight in World War II. Of course, the silent generation, which is 1928 to 1945. The fear of communism was very high at that point. Everyone's favorite, the baby boomers. That's right, the baby boomers. That was 1946 to 1964. It's named for the population boom, of course, after World War II. So in case you didn't know, these are the dates. So if you're sitting at home watching this, I encourage you to write this down so that you can talk about this at family gatherings. You can talk about this online. You can talk about this anywhere you want. But these are the dates that I got from parents.com. Parents.com told me where it is. Generation X, the generation that I'm in. So that's 1965 to 1980. We lived through the AIDS epidemic, MTV culture, and we lived through the rise of the LGBTQ plus rights that we all have today. Millennials are 1981 to 1996. They are the first to know the internet. They're the first, like they grew up into the internet. So there seems to be like a cross connection between Generation X and millennials, right? Because I grew up in the same time that the internet showed up. Generation Z or Gen Z, 1997 to 2010. They are born in a world with connection via the internet, just in case you didn't know that. Generation Alpha, these are new inclusions. 2011 to 2024, they were born at a time where they never knew life outside of social media. Isn't that wild? If you're a person of my age born in 1980, 44 years old, then you grew up at a time when social media didn't exist, but the people who were born in Generation Alpha, they grew up in social media. What a crazy time to be alive. So Generation Beta, of course, starts in 2025 and goes to 2039. So not much is known about this, but it's going to be a smart generation. There has been ideas that AI will heavily influence how they grow up. But that's there you go. There's the generations. There was a special visit from Omar, and that's it. Stick around. We have my guest Nelson is on the show. And we have an Omar Recommends. Always have an Omar Recommends. And then I close out the show with Goofy Face. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to this episode of By the Wayside. I know typically I always do my episodes over in the Nook, and you get to see the Wayside Comics in the background. Not today, Nelson. Today we're trying something just a little bit different. We want to spice things up for the viewers. And if you know anything about the show, the mission statement of the show is to introduce the audience, that's you, to creative people. So I decided to take a creative choice, turn the camera around, move the camera to this lovely area where you now know for sure that this episode, this show, is recorded in a comic book shop.
Awesome.
Sometimes when you tell people that, they're just like, no way, that's awesome. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I say that in every episode, so I know you don't watch. I know you don't watch. With me today, of course, I didn't mention it. With me today, comic creator, Nelson Caetano.
Yeah.
I did it?
Yeah, you did.
Nelson Caetano is with me today. I really appreciate you taking the time. We're recording this episode at the end of March, and currently there is quote-unquote ice storm happening. So I appreciate that you took the time to travel to speak with me today to talk about all the amazing things that you're doing creatively.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I love coming up to Wayside, so it wasn't too much of a bother.
Good. I'm really glad. I love coming here. I'm here all the time. So if you ever pop in and I'm here. I'm here. Right. I might as well just live here. I noticed something when I spoke to you privately. I had asked about the proper pronunciation of your last name because sometimes people, they just don't know. And it's always best to ask someone instead of just being an idiot and ruining it for everybody. Caetano, your last name, Caetano, it reminds me of a really awesome superhero name and a really cool Star Wars character.
Yes.
So it's like you were set up for all this creative work.
I think so. I think it's predestined.
Well, let's get right into the questions. No one wants to hear me talk anymore. Your children's book, Darren's Drawings, is much more than a children's book. Can you tell me what Darren's Drawings is?
I wanted it to be an entry point for young readers who may have never picked up a comic book and are transitioning from a children's book into a comic book.
Oh, interesting.
And so learning to read by following panels. So the panels are incredibly simplified. There are pages that do mirror traditional children's books. And then we start getting into a 4-panel page, which is probably the easiest format, or at least I thought it was going to be the easiest format to design in. But at the same time, it's also a coloring book.
So I picked, it's been in the ether for about a year now, am I correct? Yes. So I picked it up the other day, and I was flipping through it, reading through it, and I said to myself, this is a really cool coloring book. Mm-hmm. Just kind of saying it. And then you flip to the front of the page and the front of the book, and it tells you this is also a coloring book. What an amazing way to engage the younger audience in knowing that there's so much more than just words on a page. Like you had said, this transition from novels, prose. Would you say prose? No. Written. You're the academic. Help me out here, Nelson.
I was thinking more like a children's picture book.
Okay, yeah.
And how a young reader would transition from that into comics and still have the joy of visual imagery that would stimulate their inspiration and their creativity, because that's what really inspired me to get into comics was children's books and comics.
Sometimes people don't think about the massive impact that pictures, like picture books, have on children. We know that Dr. Seuss had this whole world about easy words and easy to follow pictures. So you can see this progress of educators and academics and creative storytellers going that route.
Yes.
So it's really interesting that you, my guest today, have done that. I've never had a storyteller like this on the show, and I think that people need to recognize that when I'm gonna, because it has to do with a question later on. I don't want to wreck it. This is my show, and I'm wrecking it already. I asked you to tell me about it. I asked you, you wanted to. Was there a specific reason to write it other than just you want to create that transition?
No. The story in itself, I wanted to let kids know that it's great to be an artist and never put that pencil down. Over the years teaching, I've had numerous students who say, I used to love doing art, and then I didn't but now I'm here in high school and I want to do it again. And a lot of the stories that come about are either they were told it's not important, either teachers or parents, or they were drawing and the kid next to them drawing better than they were. And that for me is the hardest thing to hear, more than someone saying it's not important.
Yeah.
Because we all know it is.
Yeah.
But when we start judging and we walk away from it for that reason. So this book was to get those kids to come back, never put the pencil down, and keep drawing.
That's really, I know we had talked before we started the episode about how my daughter is very visual, arty inclined, and that happens at our home all the time. She'll start an art piece and says, "Oh, I don't like it," and it's one of those things where you say, "Listen, kid, like this is really good. You're still learning.
Yeah,
I understand you don't know. Like you're 14, you don't understand the sun hits it here and there's a shadow here. I get that, but you're still learning. Yeah. It's having someone to support someone in the creative arts is very important. And I know I said I wasn't going to say this, but the person that supported me was an art teacher in high school, and I still use the lessons he taught me today. And I'm talking like I've been out of high school since 1998, so it's been a long road. And art teachers are very, very important. And your message is very important. I feel like I'm sweating. I feel like I'm almost talking like a mile a minute. I must be nervous. Anyway, how has you being an academic shaped your creative work?
In all honesty, as I said earlier, I've learned so much from my students, as they probably have learned from me, and they inspire me. In fact, a lot of the earlier works that I have created, like the Gathering Place comic series and even Darren's drawings, is their stories or their needs, and they inspire me to create these works. And there's always that angle, whether it be in Darren's drawings or the Gathering Place, it's all teachable moments.
Yeah. Your Gathering Place, I know that we didn't talk about this beforehand, but it is a collection of Canadian icons, correct? Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
This is By the Wayside, and we'll be right back.
I didn't prep you for
this. No. And what happened was we had, and this is was an ongoing thing. We'd get into an art history lesson, and I would lose the attention of my students.
Oh, okay.
And they're teenagers. I get it. Sometimes it can be a dry topic. But I flat out asked them, what's the issue really? And they told me, we don't see ourselves in the artists that we're studying. And we crack open, the art textbook, and they flat out told me, sir, it's all old white men. And I go, you know what? I agree. It is all white men. So give me a couple of weeks and I'll come back and we'll redo this whole lesson. Came back, and I wanted to focus on Canadian artists specifically, so that there's a lot of similarities in their stories. A lot of these artists would be new to the country, and we have a lot of recent immigrants in our school. So there's that connection. A lot more female artists, because I do teach at an all-girls school. So there's that connection, and then looking at visible minorities as well, artists with disabilities.
Okay.
And again, they connected. As soon as I came in with these lessons, students were a lot more responsive, attentive, and most importantly, they actually did the work. So anything that can get students to work and be happy and excited works for me.
I think you really nailed it on the head with representation matters.
Yep.
I think it's
definitely
very important.
Does. Definitely does. And I knew if these stories can ignite, inspiration and creativity in these young people, then these stories need to exist outside the classroom.
Yeah.
There's no way I could contain it anymore. Yeah. And it's been a joy for me to produce these stories, but more importantly, researching artists I had never heard of. I had gone through, the education system here in Canada, in Ontario, studied art history. And there are artists here who I'd never heard of, who have incredible works, incredibly talented, and great inspirational stories. Like, they dealt with a whole lot of trauma, and we're still able to produce beautiful work and connects with my kids.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
You don't hear a lot of stories like that where people will go out of their way. I know we talked about academics, but you don't hear a lot of those stories of people just kind of seeing where it needs to be and kind of bringing it to that point. It's amazing. And again, it's an art teacher. Art teachers are the glue to people that, my perspective, they're the glue to the people that are kind of looking for something to fit in. It was just like us. It was just the sentence that kind of brought me, and I realized, oh, duh, that is what did it to me. So you have lesson plans that are creating and invigorating people's interest in the arts and helping them find who they are, finding themselves in the arts, and really shaping their futures. Well, I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know what they're doing now or what they're going to do in the future, but as long as they're happy and they're seeing something now, it must be something
I
there.
have students who've come back and they're under that larger umbrella of the arts, whether they're interior designers, decorators, web designers, illustrators, animators, the whole gamut. And then I have others who come back and they're, lawyers and whatnot, and they say, I still paint on the weekend.
That's cool.
And for me, that means a whole lot, that they still have that innate need to want to create still.
I like that as a teacher. With you, people can come back to you and say, because of you, this happened. Someone on the street, that might not just happen to someone on the street. So I think, again, I will reiterate that art teachers are very important people in not just the educational system, but I think worldwide. I think it's very important. On that note, people don't just pick up a pencil and just start creating.
Oh yeah.
You've done Darren's drawings. We've talked about your Canadian. I apologize. What is it called again?
The Gathering Place.
The Gathering Place. I'm sorry. Was there a piece of pop culture that inspired you to do what you do?
Yes. They were a stack of hand-me-down comic books from my older cousins. It was a collection of Jonah Hex and
cool.
Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu.
Well, that's cool.
And they weren't superheroes. They weren't, again, it was 70s comics. And I did not know that these beautiful things existed.
Yeah.
For me, the world of superheroes at that point only existed from Super Friends.
Oh, okay.
So that in a way is my introduction into the superhero world, but into comics itself, it was westerns and kung fu.
That's crazy.
Which is so 70s. But the brilliance of the artwork that was in there was like phenomenal. And for me, for years, it would sit in a little folder and I would pull them out and I would do these doodles based on these drawings, and mesmerized by everything from anatomy to just inking and feathering and the techniques that were used. They were just, like I said, phenomenal. And then to realize, oh, wait up, this could be a career.
Yeah.
I can make a living. Make a living. That's a discussion for another day. But I mean, have joy in telling these stories and communicating stories and connecting with people. I mean, I've had people come back with my own books and I go, oh, so this is what it feels like being on the other side. So
that's exciting.
Which is neat. It is.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You talk about Shang-Chi, you talk about Jonah Hex. Well, now in 2024, do you currently have a favorite pop culture character? When I say pop culture, I sort of mean like sort of all of media, because I love RoboCop, but his comic books, meh, but his movies I love. So is there a pop culture character that you really love still, or you identify with, or one that still you continue to look at and go like, I want to write and I want to draw that individual?
It's Daredevil, and it's actually Daredevil and Punisher. But growing up as a teen and reading those books, and getting getting a sense of the world and in terms of justice and what real justice is. And when you're young, I would say it's easy to identify with a character like the Punisher when you're young.
Yeah.
Because it's that, I won't say instant gratification, but it's instant delivery in terms of justice.
It's black and white.
It's black and white. Yeah. And that's the Punisher right there. And with Daredevil, here's a character who struggles on so many levels of his life, his personal life. I mean, imagine being a lawyer and defending criminals by day, and at night you're beating the pulp out of them.
I think earlier guest Chip Zdarsky was saying that when he writes Daredevil, one of the things is that he's a fallible character.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's doing is right or wrong. He has so many different issues, especially since he's Catholic.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer. He's a vigilante. He is a very complicated character, and that's interesting that you chose him.
As I've gotten older, I identify more with Daredevil in that Roy's second guessing our choice, and I think that's why I connect with Daredevil today. Is, are the choices I'm making today, are they the right ones? And then again, it goes back to having students come back and say, you said this or you did this in class and it resonates, and so it lends me to believe maybe I am on the right track.
Awesome
for now. So
I like that. I like how
it all comes around full circle.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, as I'm saying this, I'm going, wow, that's great. This conversation just worked perfectly.
It's like we've done this before, Nelson. Wow, that's awesome. I can't thank you enough for taking the time coming into Wayside Comics and Cocktails and being a guest here on By the Wayside. The beauty of having the show is I get to speak with so many different creatives who also have day jobs that vary from like academia to even podcasters. Sometimes a podcaster is also a comic book writer. It's just these two different worlds, and yours, because you get to see, you're in the public so that you can touch and you can mold based on the ideas of what other people have, and you can take in, and the academia, I feel from my outside perspective, is you have a unique ability to create because of your job. You had mentioned that you teach, so it's more of like the ideas and the opinions of 30 different students can shape what you have. You almost have an instant talk board. I think it's amazing, Nelson.
Oh, thank you,
Nelson. Again, thank you very much for coming in. I can't thank you enough. Again, I'm very happy. I'm very happy, Nelson.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Nelson Caetano.
Yeah. Yes.
Stick around. We got lots more in this episode. Do not go anywhere. Let's do an Omar Recommends. So, welcome back to this episode of By the Wayside. Of course, 2 mics, 1 Jordan. That means there's an Omar Recommends. I got the mic stand right here. Omar, you're around. I know it. Do you have something to recommend?
We always have something to recommend.
About time. That's it. About time. It's it. That's it. Thanks for coming. See you later.
I think you broke me at 2 mics, 1 Jordan.
Easy. This is all on television, my friend. How are you doing today?
Doing all right, Jordan. How are you?
I can't complain. Nobody listens.
Well, somebody has to listen.
No, nobody listens. That's my favorite thing to say.
The world is listening.
That's right. That's the only reason I do this now.
These beautiful people are listening right now.
It's to air out all of my grievances. Usually when you're on the show, you talk about a comic book that you recommend. I have a feeling that you have a real good one today.
Okay, so yes, we are in a comic book store. So that's to
okay. Sounds
push
good.
what I can for you.
All right,
I do this for you, buddy.
It's about time someone did something nice for me. Actually, I don't even know if this is a nice thing.
Wow, it is nice. This is a great book.
Okay.
So what we're going to be recommending today is one of those modern classics from the 90s. This is Marvels, which was at the time kind of revolutionary when it came out with the artwork from Alex Ross, which just changed the game and I think how people could perceive comic book art and comic books in general. It really brought it up to kind of like a fine art medium in the eyes of even people who weren't into comics at the time. So we got Kurt Busiek on Marvels with Alex Ross, and it's just the premise of it is actually very simple. It's the dawn of the Marvel universe through the eyes of a news reporter and through the everyday average people.
Yep.
So imagine you're just living your life in the 60s, 70s, and these people with great powers and, giant space creatures and celestials and people with magnificent powers are appearing out of nowhere, and how you would interpret that, whether it's the dawn of the first Marvel hero, the Human Torch, who was an android, to like the coming of Galactus. Imagine seeing someone from space come down and how that would affect your psyche, your mentality, how you would live your day-to-day life while this crazy battle for humanity and planet Earth is happening, and it tells these very grounded stories amidst all the bombast and everything. And this is also that era where the heroes always won. Just seeing these people glamorize the heroes as like they start to appear, and seeing them succeed and seeing them win, constantly always knowing good might prevail over evil as the story goes on. And then the last issue hits you with kind of a gut punch, showing you that the hero doesn't always win.
Are you going to give a spoiler warning?
Well, we should definitely a spoiler warning here, but I'm not actually going to go into it too much, because
Okay,
I'm just going to talk about the basis of it. If you know, you know. But the prevailing reporter for the series, he's talking to Gwen Stacy at the beginning of the last issue, and then you get to see Gwen Stacy's day.
Yes.
As it pans out after that. And again, seeing it through the eyes of reporters, just talk to just a regular girl, having this interview with, and then seeing this kind of crazy superhero moment. And yeah, it's history in the world of comics. And it's one of those moments that really defined not just the character of Spider-Man, but also I think Marvel Comics in terms of what it wanted to do with its realism, and just the world of comics, reminding you that people are people, not everyone's always safe.
I remember when this comic book came out, and there was a lot of talk about it because the art of Alex Ross, like the painted artwork of Alex Ross, you think of fine art as things on canvas, but he would take it and put it into panel form. This was a time when the idea that a superhero being in the real world was just insane.
Yeah.
When Alex Ross burst onto the scene, I mean in terms of the comic book world, he was putting creases in Spider-Man's costume, and people could actually envision and know what it would be like if, like you had said, Galactus showed up.
I think it's the difference between like CGI and practical effects. Like there's a tangibility to a practical effect that you don't get with CGI. When something's drawn, you kind of have that, you can separate it a little bit. As it's art, it's still very engaging, but like, you're looking at a story. When you're getting that much reality of it, you can almost feel it, and especially at the time when it was so different to anything else coming out, like there was a tangibility to it. And the way this book made everybody feel, I think, when it came out was the same way as soon as you start getting like Marvel movies starting to come out. It just was that like next level blockbuster. Yeah, in reality, it wasn't. It transcended the page in a weird way. And they've always done a good job, I think, reprinting Marvels and reminding people why it's such an iconic story. I think this would actually make a wicked TV show.
It'd be really
if they
cool.
went back kind of like they did in Endgame, like reframe everything, but like reframe it with like a person on the street.
It's a really cool idea.
And like do the MCU through the eyes of a couple of like regular people and how that actually affected them. Because there's always like little side characters like throughout all the movies that either get saved or something happens to. And it'd be really cool to kind of follow their lives a little bit longer.
But we know that Disney Plus watches the show, so
of course
we know
Disney
that
Plus
they're
is
going
watching
to
the show.
call us up and they'll say like, "Hey, can you tell us some more about this really cool idea of you putting regular people in the world of Endgame?" I think it's just a matter of time.
MCU vignettes. Let's do it.
I agree.
It would be marvelous.
I like it when you come on the show, Omar. You say funny things, makes me smile, makes me happy, and it reminds me that there is good in the world.
Well, thank you. As I don't know,
like this comic book.
Like this comic book. I mean, we're in a comic book store. This is a stark reminder that there is always good in this world. I think.
I agree.
That's the beautiful thing about comics. It amidst all of its craziness, again, it grounds us in this way that like can remind you about the good things in life and the bad things in life, but that good may prevail over evil. And it's like a bad moment too shall pass, and like these people are going through the same things. It's that mirroring a little bit. That's why we go to the movies, right? Like we want to be entertained. We want to let things go. And then we do the same thing with books and with graphic novels and comic books. We get to engage that in a very different way and watch images move. But yeah, it's that much like Marvel's, it really lets you see the world differently, I think.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Omar, I love when you come on, you talk about a comic book, you recommend a comic book, you offer some positive, constructive criticism, and you are always a champion of comic books and the artwork that lies within. Omar, thank you again for showing up and doing an Omar Recommend segment.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Jordan.
No problem.
Thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you by the wayside.
Don't go anywhere. We got lots more coming up in this episode right after This Is a Fade to Black. It's going to go like this. Yes. What a great episode. I really enjoyed that. We did the interview a little bit differently. We had a really fun Omar Recommends. And of course, it was really really fun at the beginning of the episode when Omar showed up. Like I had said, sometimes I do the episodes when Omar isn't here, and he wasn't here in the beginning, and then he walked in. So that's the beauty of doing a show outside. That's the beauty of doing a show inside retail space like Wayside Comics and Cocktails. I just spit as I talked. I don't know if you saw that. I did. It was very distracting. He wasn't here. He came in. He brought in some milk. We saw that. We already went through that. We don't need to go through that again. I have to thank my guest, NELSON CAETANO, for being very amenable. And we had some, you don't usually see what happens after the episodes or after the segments, but him and his wife and I, we had some really great conversations talking about how everything needs to be a win-win, and you need to support people in order to create that win-win. And that family dynamic very much supports each other, and they very much work together for a win-win. Very awesome to have Nelson on the show today. I encourage you to find some of his work, head to his website, go back and watch the episode, and follow him on his social medias and the such. I'm pretty sure I said and the such on the last episode as well. Maybe that's my new catchphrase or slogan. We'll put that on a shirt. And the such. Jordan and the such. I'm sorry. I want to make sure that you follow us on all of our social media accounts, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. Head to the website. We have lots of fun there. It's the show. What you see on Rogers TV is a 29-minute version of the show, but at the website, waysideshow.com, you get an unedited version. So if you're interested in if maybe there's 3 or 4 minutes missing, that's where you're going to find it. Head to the website. And at the website, all the YouTube embedded videos are there. I also encourage you 1,000% to subscribe on YouTube, because your support means the world to me. And in that return, I get a win from your subscription, and you get a win by watching the content here at By the Wayside. Everyone have a great time. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you by the wayside.